Hello, everyone. This is Yongling Gorky, and welcome to Enhancing Cultural Awareness, Day 2. So in today's short video, I planned to have two parts. The first part involves me demonstrating how to do some of the Canvas page activities. And secondly, I've also prepared a short Google slide presentation to introduce some additional resources that the Canvas page has not covered. So I'm going to start sharing the page, and then when I'm presenting, I'm going to turn the image off so that you can focus on the Canvas page or the Google slide, and then towards the end, I'll turn my video back on. So I'm going to share the page now, and here we go. So when you look at this page, you will see we have several different tabs, and they're good reviews of the content that was covered on the first day. For example, social practices, norms, beliefs, and values, as they are key concepts of the culture, and you can drag them to see if you understand them correctly or not. I'm just doing them randomly, and they're not correct, I can tell you. But to demonstrate that you can try it again, you can see they're not correct. But once you click retry, then they'll come back. The second part is a very illustrative way of cultural learning, formally and informally. And yesterday we introduced the iceberg model. So today you can actually try to see if these different cultural components or cultural manifestation, if they are above the water or beneath the water as far as explicit or implicit cultures are concerned. So what I want to remind you again is sometimes if you try to drag things down, make sure you drag them as close to the iceberg as possible. And once again, afterwards, you'll be able to check to see if you get that correctly. So I'm going to purposefully leave a few errors so you can see that it will tell you which is correct, which is incorrect, and you can try it again. Okay. Things up. Once again, you need to drag them as close to the iceberg as possible. And if it doesn't work the first time, just try it again. All right, so let's see. I think this is done. Let's see if I get all of them correct. And once again, I want to remind you that I purposely left a couple of small errors. Oh, looks like this one is definitely not correct. One's definitely not correct. And this one is definitely not correct. So I'm going to retry. And now they go back to their place. And let's try that again. And this time, I will try to do them as many correct as possible. Gesture, facial expression, ethic, beliefs, concepts of beauty, religious rituals, ideas of friendship, music, head towards child rearing, eating habits, dress, importance of time, facial expressions. All right, now let's recheck. So most of them is correct except for the importance of time. So I'm not going to keep doing that, but hopefully you get the gist of it. And then you can play it again until you think you get all of them correct. And then the next tab, there's a minor error. So just to let you know that I tried to correct that by re-uploading the file, but it would not allow me. But fortunately, you will be able to see that core cultural value in today's discussion. So if you don't see that, let me know. I'd be happy to point out to you. What I want to point out here is you actually have 4 cards, and each card has 2 sides. So here, when we read what cultural values is demonstrated here, if you turn it, it will say that This is how one sees an individual, maybe the world centered on the individual, while a collectivist see there's a constant recognition of the self in relation to the other. So if you click through all four of them, it illustrates about 4 different kinds of main cultural differences as far as the worldview and values are concerned. Next one talks about hierarchy and egalitarianism. And this one, the direct communication, indirect communication, I'm going to talk a little bit more. And finally, the monochronic and polychronic time. So I'm going to stop sharing and then turn the image back on. So the Canvas page is built in a way that you can go over these content more than once if you feel like you need to understand it better. And then if some of these images that you want to use, let us know. I'd be happy to share. Those animation are created using the additional software called H5P. So it does require some basic knowledge of coding to do that. Of course, with the Center for Teaching and Learning and also with IT, you should be able to help that as well. So now I'm going to turn to the Google slide part and present on today's learning. There will be a few short videos. I included 2 more long videos in the Google slide for you to watch on your own. So here we go. And I'm going to turn the image off. So in the workshop, day 2, I have the following learning objectives. So day 2 has the following learning objectives, as I've just saying. So first of all, to review the iceberg model. Secondly, we will learn about and apply the following orientations, mainly to the high context and low context cultures. You will find a lot of the cultural differences and the core cultural values can be attributed to these 2 different types of cultural. And also monochronic and polychronic cultures, especially in time management. I'm also going to introduce an activity for cultural reflection called Draw a House. And if you think that's an activity that you may like to use in your teaching, let me know. I'm happy to share the presentation with you. So in day 1, we learned about Edward T. Hall's high cultural and low cultural context. And we can see that approximately only 10% of the behaviors that we see with cultural difference are above the water, which means it's easily observable, whereas a lot more are beneath the water. Now, something new as far as high context and low context culture is concerned is when we look at the way people from different nations or sometimes from different background communicates, we notice there are different communication style. Of course, some of that is individual differences, but a lot of that could also be contributed to the cultural background that they come from. So therefore, let's see, high context culture, low context culture, exactly what do they mean? And here we can see some of the Western European and North American countries are located at low context, and the Asian and some of the Latin America and Middle East countries are located at high context. So let's take a look. But once again, high context, low context, together with the iceberg model, are both from our sociologist, Edward Hall. So let's read this quote. One of the most effective ways to learn about oneself is by taking seriously the culture of others. It forces you to pay attention to those details of life which differentiate them from you. Here are 2 videos I'm going to play. The first one explains what are the differences between high context and low context culture from a historical and theoretical perspective.
Let me explain the international business concept high and low context cultures. The concept was developed by anthropologist Edward Hall, who founded the field of intercultural communication in 1959 with his book The Silent Language. Hall defines intercultural communication as a form of communication that shares information across different cultures and social groups. One framework he developed for intercultural communication was high context and low context cultures, which refers to the value cultures place on indirect and direct communication. A high context culture relies on implicit communication and nonverbal cues. In high context communication, a message cannot be understood without a great deal of background information. Asian, African, Arab, Central European, and Latin American cultures are generally considered to be high context cultures. A low context culture relies on explicit communication. In low context communication, more of the information in a message is spelled out and defined. Cultures with Western European roots, such as the United States and Australia, are generally considered to be low context cultures. In summary, recognizing whether a country is a high or low context culture is very important for more effective negotiation and cultural understanding with different countries.
All right, so we know that there are country differences on high and low context culture, but sometimes what does that mean? How does it play out in real life? So here's another example of showing the different kinds of communication between high and low context culture.
High context versus low context communication. Scenario 1. Both friends are from culture A.
We're going to New Orleans this weekend.
Sounds like fun. I wish we were going with you. How long are you going to be there? If they want a ride, they will ask for one.
We're going for 3 days. By the way, we need a ride to the airport. Are you available to take us?
Sure. What time do you need to be there?
Our plane leaves at 3 o'clock this Saturday.
No problem. I'll pick you up at noon.
Scenario 2. Both friends are from culture B.
We're going to New Orleans this weekend.
I've never been there before, but it sounds like fun. How long will you stay there?
3 days. I need a ride to the airport. I hope they'll offer me a ride.
They may need a ride to the airport. I am available this weekend and would be happy to see you off at the airport.
Are you sure it's not too much trouble?
It's never too much trouble for a friend.
Scenario 3. One friend is from culture A, and one friend is from culture B.
We're going to New Orleans this weekend.
Sounds like fun. I wish we were going with you. How long are you going to be there? If they want a ride, they will ask for one.
3 days. I need a ride to the airport. I hope they'll offer me a ride.
They must not need a ride, since they didn't mention it. Have a great time. I'll see you when you get back.
If they had been able to give me a ride, they would have offered it. See you then.
All right. So from this cultural video, you probably have noticed that cultural A refers to a more low context cultural background, whereas everything is explicitly mentioned, whereas cultural B is perhaps more implicit. Now, while not all the examples would be as dramatic as this one, I hope that it illustrates that in the high context culture, there's a lot of unsaid message in which the two people in the dialogue usually have a very high level of understanding, so that understanding of each other and understanding of the shared backgrounds, so that a lot of things can go unsaid. I have more videos I'm happy to share with you towards the end of our presentation and also in the resources.
Let me explain.
High context.
So the second part of the second concept is about time preference on monochronic and polychronic cultures. So for this activity, my purpose, and also it is part of this course's purpose, is to help your students or yourself with a better understanding when it comes to time concepts. So let's explain. First of all, monochronic time, or people from monochronic culture, when viewing time, they think time is the given and people are the variable. The needs of the people are adjusted to suit the demands of the time, such as schedules and deadlines, etc. Whereas for polychronic, time is a servant and the tool of people. Time is adjusted to suit the needs of the people. In other words, monochronic cultural or monochronic orientation of time is more task-oriented, whereas polychronic feature or orientation is more people-oriented. So I'm not going to do the Kahoot game, but I'm happy to share this with you. And you can play it in class with the students and to determine several statements, whether they're monocultural or polycultural. I do have a Google form that I can share with you, and I'm going to put it here about monochronic and polychronic culture. So this is the Google form that you can give your students, and it contains 10 different statements. Students can choose A or B. And once they complete that, so I'm just going to choose all A's for now, just to demonstrate. Once they complete that, then you hit submit. You will see that the following time preference goes to A or B. And if you wanted to see what did I say, you can go back to it and compare. Or ask the instructor, you can consider showing them, providing them with a PDF copy so that they can compare the standard answers to assess one's monochronic or polychronic features and compare it with your own answer. So that's that. Coming back here. So once again, email me if you want the Kahoot game, and then I will be sharing the link of the Google form so that you can use that in your classes. Now, let's watch an example. An example, again, a dramatized, exaggerated example of how different cultures look at, examine, and evaluate time. And this video is about 4 or 5 minutes.
I was gonna take exactly 46 minutes, 58 seconds to get there. And to get there at 6, I need to leave at.
My grandfather always came to 6 o'clock dinners at 5:45. The last time I was invited to dinner, I also arrived at 5:45. Tonight, I'm here at 5:45. If I got here late, you never know what could happen. The past teaches us it's predictable. The past says that being here at 5:45 for a 6 o'clock dinner is best. Dinner's at 6. I'm here 5 minutes early because 5 minutes early is on time. Time is money. I can't waste it. And if I'm late, then I might as well just not go to the dinner.
Everything I do is timed perfectly. Since dinner is starting at 6, I got here at 5:57. That means I have 1 minute to finish talking here, 1 minute to find my seat at the table and settle in, and 1 minute to choose the food I want and put it on my plate. That way, dinner can start exactly at 6 o'clock.
I am here exactly at 6 o'clock. Punctuality shows that I'm doing my absolute best to be here on time so everyone else can enjoy dinner. We have to be punctual in order for things to be done correctly. Reading, sitting down, eating, coffee, leaving.
Time is precious. It's not strict. We need to relax. Inhale. Exhale. Relax. Breathe. Okay. Yeah, at a specific time for dinner, and I don't do that. I just come when I'm ready. Right? Yes, that's what I do. Let's go eat now.
Can't wait to see everybody. Going to build connections and friendships with each other.
Dinner was at 6.
That's why I was here 5 minutes before.
We knew exactly when to get here.
Exactly how long will it take you to get in time?
And on time is 5 minutes before. Previous experience tells me that 15 minutes before is the best.
You came a little late, but that's okay.
But if we're all here, exact time doesn't matter. As long as we're all here, we're all here. Kristen,
We ate hours ago, it's already over.
dinner. At least we have time for tea and relationship.
So once again, let me reiterate. Hopefully after watching this video, it gives you more clearer sense of what it means by monochronic and polychronic culture. So as you will see in the core cultural values, there are many different kinds of seemingly dichotomized orientation of viewing values. But keep in mind that this is more of a continuum than two straight ends. With our limited time, I wanted to introduce high context, low context, and monochronic versus polychronic culture. Now, there are many more, but this hopefully gives you the taste of it. So after that, we're going to switch gear and introduce to you an activity called Draw a House. Now, this is an activity that I borrowed from this place called Habico. It's an intercultural learning hub with a lot of cultural activities for you to choose from. Granted, you do have to go through many searches to find activities you want. But trust me, I think you won't be disappointed. So this can be applied to many different, I would say, courses, you know, a language course, a design course, maybe a course on like management, a course on architecture, or even courses on math, because, you know, we're talking about houses and we need to do a lot of calculations. So you can embed this in any of your courses or even early on as a icebreaker or team building activity. Here are the instructions. So if you want, you can provide your students with paper and writing utensils, or you can just ask them to take out a paper on their own. And then usually you give students 5 minutes to draw a floor plan of a house. It should be as detailed as possible, you know, with entrance, furnitures, and labels on different rooms. After 5 minutes is over, so you have students pair up and talk in small groups and compare. And then you can do a large group debrief as well. Now, depending on if your students is more homogeneous or heterogeneous, you may also consider giving your students the following images to gain more information about houses or just accommodations in general in different cultures. So for example, this is a sample floor plan from Japan. And you can ask students what are differences that you notice. And you can also give them some average home size in different parts of the world. You can also provide more examples about homes in Spain and emphasizing the multi-generational homes and some of the features like stucco, tile, narrow alleys, shaded courtyard, and patios. So it depends on the your students' population. If you think more background information is helpful, you can include images like that. If you just want them to be not restricted and talk as much, draw as much as they can, you don't have to provide the images. So once the 5 minutes is up, you can provide the debrief instructions. So the first part of debrief are just looking at similarities and differences in small groups. And if you have provided images, you can also look at the houses that they draw and the images that you have provided. More importantly, the Draw a House activity really empowers students to think about houses in a cultural context, environment, social values, functionalities, and etc. So I'm going to read out those bigger bullet points, like what sorts of conclusions can we draw about the behavior, norms, or values in our culture that we shape the space and environment? What about the availability of space? What influence do you see population density in these drawings? How do the changing values and practices in society affect the style of houses over time? And then what it's like to enter other person's home that is arranged differently from what we're used to do. So once again, this Draw a House activity is just one of the activities that this Habico website provides. Although it may not be applicable to all the different disciplines that you teach, I hope that you find it as generally applicable as possible. And like I said, you can always use it as a team building exercise in the courses that you teach at the beginning of semester to build more cohesion amongst your students so that they can work better in small groups later on. So here are the things to do after today. I'm going to turn the image back on. So please complete today's assignment, which is a discussion, and I will join as well. And then we have the two videos for you to watch. One is the intercultural competence and DEI. It's 15 minutes. Right now it's showing an error, but I will send the link so that you can find it on Canvas. And the other, if Hofstede's national culture, this one is about 9 minutes. And always keep reflecting from your experience above and let me know via discussion and or chat. So that's all for today's recorded content. And please explore more on the Canvas page and let me know if you encounter any difficulty or if you need more explanations. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow.